Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, to the bishops, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, shalom. Shalom to the elect. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father, and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. And I got this small clip real quick. And this is as you can see, it says 1988, which was, which was in a sense set up in 1988 as predictive programming, but a lot of the things that he says are true, and it doesn't make sense that you're in your rulership and you're letting other countries make more money than you within your own rulership. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the elite get their cut, and that could be how stupid the elite are. They just, because they're greedy and they just want their cut, and the hell with the people. Which, I mean, they do hate the poor. They don't like the poor. They don't want you to get anything. But um, what makes you think you're gonna let another nation, like, because everybody's talking about how China is gonna be the next power, right? Powerhouse, and so-called you got your grips in every nation, right? They have their Rothschild central bank in every nation. Um, but once, I mean, let's just play this out. I mean, it's not. It's just a scenario. It's not real because Yahweh Shai is coming back, right? I mean, yes, Yahweh Shai is coming back, but let's just play this scenario as if this thing was going to continue on forever, as if what they want, right? So America's going to get knocked out because it's dwindling, right? The financial, the dollar don't have the power that it needs. The military doesn't have the power that it used to have, right? Even other countries are saying, "Hey, look, hey, we got nuclear missiles too," right? So now you may go, "Hey, well, you know what? I don't care about America. We'll just switch everything over onto China, and we'll run the world from China because we like the way China has their citizens, right? We have this what do you call it? Credit based society, or this social credit score based society, and this tells people where they can go, what they can't do, this and that, based on their credit limits and this and that, and you can't ride a plane or a bus if your social credit score ain't this, and we could just be God over these people, and we'll run everything through China. Okay, well, China is another nation, right? They're not Edomites. There might be some Edomites within China, but China, those people are not Edomites. So what makes you think once they get the power that they're not gonna just turn around and say, "Wait a minute, I have all the power," turn their back on you, right? Which I believe that's what would happen, right? Because they're a complete, total different nation, right? And they say what absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So once they get the power, what in your measly mind, just because you have this grip on them as far as the banking system, but when everything is switched over to digital, and then they're trading between China with the BRICS, China, was it Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They don't need Israel, or they don't need you other, which I know so-called Jewish people are everywhere, but you as a collective, you don't have military, you don't have the military might to destroy China without America, right? So in your genius, your thing is I'm a deplete America, and somehow magically everything is going to be okay. Which, I mean, thank God Yahweh Shai is coming back, right? Because you will wake up and live in a world completely ran by China, right? So, because China's military is bigger than Russia's, right? More powerful. They got better technology than Russia, you know. So if it just don't make sense, right? But this thing is like basically what predictive programming, right? At the end of the day. So let's see if we can.
Think about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Albert. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. I know people are talking about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever? Probably.
See how that was, and that was you know, predictive programming. You can even see how she asked it. It wasn't like a person who was like really wanting to know. She was just waiting for the right time to say it, right? And then she asked him, "Will you ever run for president?" And here he is, the president, right? Let's see if we want.
The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings, and yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. I know people are talking about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country with.
Why would you?
Think about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings.
He's not going to deliver
and
what
yet
he
they're not
promised.
paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. I know people are talking about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Right.
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country with.
Why would you?
Think about the enemies.
But yeah, so it's all predictive programming, and I mean, like I said, there's a lot of great points that he's making. America is a debtor nation, right? Everything's based on credit, right? And being that you're doing these type of things, why would you let countries just come in and make so much money? The TV was created here. The car was created here. The first manufactured car company came from America, right? The car was invented here. You mean way on the other side of the world, they make the best car in the world? Better than the place where it came from? Where it originated from? Right? We know Jake created it, and they haven't gave Jake credit, but still, General Ford is not credited for creating the car. He's credited for manufacturing the car, right? And then you took those jobs that were manufactured overseas, and now those places make more money and make better cars than you. And then this place is just a place where you just consume off of debt. But people are surprised what's about to come, right? They're saying this guy's a real life Captain America, right? Right? They still believe in this guy, man. They believe that somehow it's gonna say this thing is too far gone, right? Yeah. So this is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 8. Babylon, which is America, whether you know it or not, right? Because it's the daughter of Babylon. Have a lot of Babylonian traditions and what do they call it? Rituals and all these type of things like Christmas. Christmas is a Babylonian ritual that you do every year, right? Not knowing you're worshiping Babylonian deities and gods and kings and right stuff like that. Um, Nimrod's privy member, right? All sorts of things, right? Um, but yeah, and it's suddenly fallen, right? So now we have this time period where it was 1988, but it was falling in. Like that's why he could. That's why the projection was there already. And here we are, 2025, and the exact same thing is is the is the scenario, so to speak, right? Because it's always been an issue, right? It's always been an issue that they should have addressed, right, a long time ago, right? Right? Because why? Like I remember my first time ever going to Detroit, because my mom moved to Detroit. I had some cousins and some family in Detroit, and so I went to go visit my mom, and then she took me to my cousins and stuff house, and we were at my cousin's house, and this is when I was in the world. I thought America was a great country, at one point in time, in which it could have been, but they're too freaking stupid, right? Right? Why would you exhaust the greatest thing that you have, right? Because you'll never have another thing like this. I mean, even in the scriptures, it shows you that, right? They're gonna shoot missiles, basically, so-called, be satisfied. Yeah, America's destroyed. Fuck you, blah blah blah. I'm pissed off at you because you puffed your chest at us. You always act like you guys were the best people in the world, and then they're gonna realize, oh yeah, wait a minute, this place I made so much money. Where could you find another place where you can make money off so many suckers on a day-to-day basis? No other place is like that. You know what I mean? You don't got a bunch of Arabs can't wait to wear a pair of Nikes. You know what I mean? You don't got a bunch of Arabs walking around can't wait to wear headphones, whether they're Beats or Bowls or whatever, right? You know, you ain't got a bunch of people can't wait to spend $800 on a tiny ass purse to put their dog into it. You know what I mean? You don't have that anywhere else. So no one's really thinking. But this is, I mean, ultimately, this is all the orchestration of Yahweh Bashem Shai, right? But they're not thinking. Come on, common sense. You don't fuck up the plate that you're just absolutely winning, right? And I don't know if somebody's thinking about it, and they're going, wait a minute, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can, what's it, restorate or restore, right? And that's what it is. How for her, right? Wait a minute. Let's think about it. Wait a minute. We need to stop this from happening. How for her take bomb, right? Bomb meaning what? Medication, medicine, right? For her pain, right? And that's what's coming, right? It's gonna be like the pain of a woman in travail, a woman in childbirth, right? It's gonna be this is going into the labor pains of World War III, race wars, right? Ultimately, Yahweh Shai coming back, delivering the elect, and once the elect is what delivered, right, so to speak, right? When you do to a baby, you deliver it, right, and the elect is going to be delivered, and it says that uh, Israel should become a nation in one day, right? It's going to take 1 day and 1 hour to make Israel a nation all over again, right? Coming from hey, started from the bottom, now we're here, right? Real talk, right? Because we don't have no military. The true Israelites are are in slavery or in subjugation, right? We're here for a punishment in America, Babylon the Great, not here for a great thing, right? Because like I was saying in my thing when I went to go visit my cousins in Detroit, man, it was tight. Like in my ignorance in the world, it was dope because there was no, you know, I'm from the, kind of like, from Phoenix, Southwest, you know, I've been from, we're really not that far from LA. So a lot of things that LA things, people drive Nissans and Mercedes and, you know, things of those natures. A lot of foreign cars. To see that, I was like kind of almost proud, like, dang, look at all these American cars and look at this how they do this. And you would think they would make an incentive that every state, every city had this pride within their country and developed jobs and money and things for their. But listen, no. Now they're in the need of some medicine, right? Right? They're in need of some balm. So take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed, right? Now they got to try to restore this place somehow, some way, right? Yeah, so this CNBC, Trump says he doesn't want the stocks to go down, but sometimes you have to take, I believe it says medicine, right? That's another thing. And this is a Rolling Stone. It says Trump to America as market crash. Sometimes you have to take medicine, right? Take bomb for her, right? This is Trump shares true social video claiming he purposefully crashed the market. What? Let's see this, man. Fortune, right? This is Fortune. It says Trump shared video claiming he purposely crashed the market, but then assisted that he doesn't want anything to go down. See, this is a Babylon the Great, Babal, a big ball of freaking confusion, man. Right? He don't want anything to go down. He purposely did it, but then you got to take your minute. Trump says, I can't tell you what will happen with the market. Now he can't tell you. But first he said, sometimes you need to take your medicine. Then he purposely did it, but insists that he don't want it to go down. Then he says, I don't know what's going to happen. Wait a minute. I thought you just said, yeah. Trump compares tariff policy to medicine as market futures crash. Right? So, but he just said he don't know. Right? He said it's his medicine. He purposely tried to do it, but insists that he don't want it to go down. Then the future crash, it's the tariffs in itself. That policy is medicine. So if you know it's it's medicine. Why did you say you don't know? This is just a big ball of freaking confusion. Stocks plunge again. Trump says market have to take medicine. Trump defends tariffs aimed market mayhem. And basically, it's the same thing, most likely. Sometimes you have to take the medicine. But he don't know what's happening. But I did it on purpose. But I don't want it to go down. Says Trump defends tariffs aimed market mayhem. Sometimes you have to take medicine, right? So so what's bomb? Bomb is what? Medicine. So take bomb for her pain. If so be, she may be what? Healed. So he said, hey, look, a little bit of this stuff it's gonna hurt, but in the long term, you'll be healed, which it's not gonna happen. He's gonna lace the pockets of the elite, himself and the elite, but mostly elite because he worked for them, right? He worked for the elite. He's just a puppet. He got to make sure their pockets get filled, though they're already quadruple trillionaires, right? Which doesn't make sense why they want more and more and more and more money. But I mean, that's just the way that these people think, right? It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed, right? And it's partially because of the greed of the elite, right? And so this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 3. Riches are not comely for a niggard, and what should an envious man do with money? And he's envious, of the blessing that Jake has, right? And he's so obsessed with hating Jake. He's not really enjoying his rulership the way he should. He spent billions of dollars to convince you that you're not the Israelites, but through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, now we know that we're the Israelites. So now he's setting up the measures, which they were already going to do anyway, right? Because that's ultimately why the Spirit came in the time that it came, because they're about to make their move as far as pushing forth the charagma, right? And so yeah, so basically, yeah, the Spirit came on time, right? Gave us enough time, gave us that true grace period, right? Time to get ourselves together, because they're about to come down, right? Because they're envious of the blessing that was bestowed upon Jacob, right? And Esau, which is Edom, right? The descendants are mad at the descendants of Jacob, which are the Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, and he had all this money in the world, but he's just a niggard, right? Riches are not commonly for a niggard, right? And if you were doing things you would think you could, you have everything at your disposal, right? You should be able to run a place, the world, better than what you're doing. You know, pollute the water, pollute the food, mostly because he hates Jake. He hates you Israelites, and this money, this power that he's given as a niggard, right? It says stingy or ungenerous person, right? And that's what they are, man. They're filthy trillionaires who's basically stingy, rich beyond measures. They could fix this problem overnight. They could just say, you know what? Or they could just, I mean, they don't have to give their money. They could just say, America, we forgive your debt. Don't worry about it. They could forgive the debt. You build up your money. You do your things, build up. And everything, it wouldn't be okay. But, because the Lord still has to come back. But they could do that, though. You know? They could just forgive the debt. Right? Ungenerous, niggardly, right? Ungenerous, niggardly. Yeah, it's not a common use of a name anymore. Close, mysteriously, parsimonous. Let's see.
Miserly, parsimonious, penurious, and stingy. While all these words mean
Right. So that's basically what goes into what basically stingy. Basically, that's these you know, billionaire, trillionaires, small hatters, ultimately, right? Yeah, going back to this Jeremiah 51 and 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and that's ultimately what the elite is thinking about anyway. They're not thinking about, because they could just either forgive the debt or pay it all off. Or each elite gives a percentage of the money, and the debt will be wiped away overnight, right? You're using the military might. You're using America, right? The military as a watchdog. I mean, what person has their dog to protect them, but they don't feed the dog, right? And that's ultimately what they're doing. They're just saying, hey, you know what? We don't care that you you protect us, you guard our lives. We're these ultra billion trillionaires, and it doesn't matter. Though you have always needed the citizens, right? as military men to join the U.S. military to be your watchdog at your beck and call, which that's what America's about to do again, right? You're gonna be drawed out by the least of the flock, but they don't give a damn about you, right? You know what I'm saying? This is and that's why a lot of men ain't trying to join the military because they could see this. No one cares, right? They said forsake her. Let us go, everyone to his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, right? And that's ultimately what's about to happen, man. Judgment on America, Babylon the Great, and is lifted up even to the sky. Yeah. Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, have brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion, right? So that's what we do. We go out to the highways and the byways and declare to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. But ultimately, we're not even looking for all of Israel. It's only really for the elect, sealing forth the elect, the Wah, right? Bringing the adoption, right? Which adoption means to be brought back, right? Adoption don't mean what people think adoption means in the worldly sense, right? According to scripture, adoption means to be brought back. So he's bringing back his sons back unto him, right? Sort of speak kind of like the story of of the parable of the prodigal son, right? That's what the Lord's going to do. The work of Yahweh, our power, and this is all the workings of Yahweh Bashem Shai. Yeah, what make bright the arrows, right? Just the ICBM missiles. Gather the shields, right? These different militaries, they're around the world, right? Because that's what America's fallen into anyway. You're falling into financial decay, and then you're about to fight everybody in the whole world. You're talking about going to war with the cartels. You're gonna have civil unrest within your own country. You're talking about going to war with China over Taiwan. You're talking about fighting in Ukraine, right? Which so-called they pulled some people back out of the Ukraine, but you still will have the Houthi rebels that you have to deal with, and then you got Iran, which that's ultimately Israel being the least of the flock, drawing you out for your destruction, right? Yeah, so you gather the shields. Yet Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, have raised up the spirit, right? Rised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, which is talking about Russia, for his device, right? And this is what ultimately what the Lord wants. This is the Lord's device for you to be cocky, arrogant, right? Niggardly, stingy, right? Because they could easily just forgive the debt, and then you don't even got to be over in that region of the world, right? Because everything's going to, you don't even got to be able to, because everything's going into the blockchain anyway. So you tell me if this is how stupid you are. Everything's going over into the blockchain anyway, because what is it? Ethiopia is part of the BRICS. Ethiopia already made mandatory that their citizens get the digital ID, and they all have to have it by next year of 2026. They all have to be in compliance of having the digital. So they're part of the BRICS. So you think any of those other BRICS nations are not going to do that? So the Charagma is about to be all over through the whole entire world anyway, regardless. So you really don't need to fight. You don't really need to fight. But then again, you need to fight because it's prophecy, right? The Lord put it in your heart, la'ab, your mind, to think a certain way, right? And so did he did to the meek, right? This is the Lord stirring up the meeks, which is Russia. He's put in his mind, hey, to be stirred up against you, right? For his device against Babylon, which is against America, right? To destroy it because it is the vengeance, right? See, and the Lord has to take vengeance for all the bloodshed you spilled of the Israelites, the so-called Native Americans, the so-called Mexicans, right? The Puerto Ricans, right? The so-called black men, the so-called Jamaican, Haitian, right? Which are all Israelites, man. Whether you know it, accept it, believe it or not, well, you're gonna know it when the Lord brings forth that vengeance, that judgment of His temple, right? And we're a people before a place, and we are the Lord's temple, right? The Lord said that the kingdom of heaven is within you, so you have touched the apple of His eye, and so that's that vengeance. Yeah. So this is Ezekiel chapter 32, verse 2. It says, "Son of man, take up a lamentation for Pharaoh, king of Egypt," right? Which Egypt is America, spiritually Egypt. So this is basically talking about America because this is not talking about ancient Egypt, right? Right, and we're gonna go into it, and you're gonna see that it's not talking about ancient Egypt, right? It's talking about today, which is America, Babylon the Great, which is also known as spiritually Egypt and spiritually Sodom, right? It says, "And say unto him, Thus art like a young lion of the nations," right? They've been going around bullying the world, right? Being a lion in the whole world, right? Which that's one of the things in Proverbs. It tells you, don't be a lion in your own house, right? Right. Or is that Ecclesiasticus? But yeah, but it's basically like a proverb. It's like, a wise saying, and which makes sense, right? Right. It's a wise saying. It's with wisdom, right? Right, coming forth through the scriptures. If you're supposed to apply these things to your life, you're not supposed to be a lion in your own house. But this what America has been, a lion in the whole world, and basically the whole world is our house. Like, we all live in the world, right? You have this global trading and this and that, and which is great if you if you wasn't being a lion, right? If everybody just worked together, you got to think that's never happened before. Before Solomon, actually, truly, Solomon was the only one who did global trading, right? Right? No, it wasn't privy to all nations. Solomon was the only one that did global trading at one point in time, right? um, with those Hamites too, because I guess he had the Hamites. So Solomon, Israel, and these Hamites were the only ones at one point in time that did global trading. Um, but it says, thus art a lion of the nations, and thus are as a whale in the sea, right? And in business, a whale is someone who's wealthy, right? So you know, so they got this great military, they have all this great money, and and you use that as pride, to try to bully it. We're this rich nation. You try to go around bullying people, but then at the same time, you're declining, you're falling, right? And thus cometh forth with thy rivers, right? Your philosophies, your different um, ways you're trying to manipulate um, people's minds, things to twist and turn, right? Because rivers twist and turn, right? And trouble is the waters, right? Trouble, the people, the nations go against different nations, right? With thy feet, right? You put your military, you got military bases everywhere. Put your soldiers' boots on ground, so to speak, and foulets their waters, right? You now you like I said, now there's women talking about they got rights. Now you got Arab women talking about they don't have to cover their heads. They could do this, they could do that. You got people thinking they could be openly Mo in other places, right? You, you're trying to change everything all over the world. Thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakal Kodash, I will therefore spread out my net over thee, right? Judgment's coming with a company of many people, right? War, right? Judgment, war, right? You're going to send forth, stir up the Medes, which is the Russians. Also stirring up China, because China's part of the BRICS, which is another heavy military, right? They've said something about Indonesia signed over to the BRICS, which has a decent sized military too. So you're like in a no-win situation, right? Company of many people, and they shall bring thee up in the net, right? Trap. It's all a trap for you, bro. You're set up to fail. Then I will lay thee upon the land and will cast thee forth upon the open field, right? You're going to go into war, and a lot of you are going to die, right? Ultimately, the Lord's going to have them shoot the ICBM missiles upon America, right? And I will cause all the fowls of heaven, right? You're going to die. You're going to be dead bodies. Fowls of heaven to remain upon thee, right? You're going to be eating your flesh, right? Dead bodies. But this also goes into your financial things, right? It says that they have laid a wound unto thee. Those of your confederacy, they that have ate thy bread, right? So this goes into that too. These countries are, oh, we need this, we need financial aid, we need this, we need this. They're just picking at you, taking little things, saying, hey, sending all that money to Ukraine, sending all your money to Israel, and you're being depleted. You don't have anything, right? All and I will fill the beast, and of heaven, the fowls of heaven remain upon thee, and I will fill the beast of the whole earth with thee, right? Because all these nations are going to come against you. They're all going to shoot missiles on you, right? Eventually. And I will lay thy flesh upon the mountains and will fill the valleys with thy heights, and I will also water with thy blood, right? The land therein, and thus swimmeth even to the mountains, right? Your governments, and the rivers shall be filled with thee, right? Going to be destroyed. America's going to be destroyed, right? And I and 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 when I shall put thee out, right? Get destroyed, you're gonna get put out of power, and I will cover the heavens and make the stars thereof darken, right? When the ICBM missiles hit, right? that cloud's going to go up, cover the whole earth, that they call a mushroom cloud. But then you're going to have 200 million mushroom clouds, right? 200 million missiles, and they're all going to make mushroom clouds. So it's going to cover the sky, right? And make the stars thereof dark. And I will cover the sun with the clouds, right? Which is going to be that ICBM missile, and the moon shall not give her light, right? Time of your destruction, right? All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thee, upon thy land, saith Yahweh, saith the Adonai, power, the Most High Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and I will also vex the hearts of many people, and when I shall bring thy destruction, right, among the nations, right, the whole world's going to see America be destroyed, right, with the ICBM missiles, right, among the nations, unto the countries which thus has not known, right? And yea, I will make many people amazed at thee, and their kings shall be horribly afraid for thee, right? Because it's just as it says, these people are going to be looking, and it's going to fear of her torment, right? Afraid for thee when I shall brandish my sword, which is the ICBM missiles, right, before them, and they shall tremble at every moment, every man for his own life in the day of thy fall, right? So that's the time of these ICBM missiles are gonna come, right? Yeah. So this is Revelation chapter 18 verse 10. Says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment. See, they're gonna be looking at it like, oh shit, like when them ICBM missiles hit, then hey, it's gonna be a terrifying thing that's gonna be happening here in Babylon the Great. Saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, right, which is America, daughter of Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment. Whose judgment? The Most High's judgment, right? Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai's judgment. Thy judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall wail and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore, right? Because Arabs ain't looking to buy Nikes and all these other different things that they buy, these little trinkets and stupid stuff, pet rocks and chia pets and PlayStations and just a bunch of madness, man. Right? Was it microwavable food? Eh, they ain't looking to buy none of that madness, man. But they ain't gonna, like I said, they ain't gonna think about it until after they destroy it, because they're pissed off at the moment. You know how you talk to your chick, you know what I'm saying? You be at the moment you mad, you ready to knock her head off. You know what I mean? But you walk away, you be like, you know what? Why was I even mad at her? That doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? That was some stuff that I got mad. I said some things I shouldn't have fucking said because I was mad. And but in their case, they're gonna have already shot the missiles on this place, right? Everything's gonna be already. There ain't no. You know what I'm saying, right? There ain't no taking that back, right? It's Second Ezra chapter 16 verse 13. For strong is the right hand that bendeth the bow, which is ultimately Yahushai, and Yahushai is gonna have full dominion, and he's the one who's gonna tell the four angels to to go ahead and let go, to let the World War III happen, right? And they're kind of letting go now because they're stirring up the pot, so to speak, stirring up the war. That's what he said. I should stir up the meats. So he's having those angels, those four angels, that's holding back the the ICBM missiles, so to speak, that destruction. He's having them stir it up. So it says and it's going to be the time when they just release it. He let them go. It says for strong is the right hand that bendeth the bow, which is Yahushua ultimately, but Yahushua has command over angels, and he's going to have the angels do particular tasks. His arrows, right, which are the ICBM missiles that he shooteth, are sharp, right? They've been tested, tried, and prepared for battle. They're sharp and they're ready, right? And shall not miss, right? The GPS system works on it correctly, right? The was it the rocket fuel ratio from Russia to America is the right ratio to get it here, right? Because you could shoot it off and then it runs out of rocket fuel, right? And then it'll drop out of the air before it even gets to America. No, it's going to have the right amount of rocket fuel. You know, it's going to have the right amount from North Korea, all these other places. Yeah, even your mother, right? Which is England, right? France, uh, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, right? They all shoot missiles on this place, right? So it says, yeah, and it shall not miss. Then they begin to be, and when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world, right? And you can't take a regular bow and arrow and shoot a bow and arrow from any place and shoot it to the end of the world because it's just not possible. So it's actually talking about the ICBM missiles. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. The plagues are sent, right? So once the Lord let this go, they're going to be sent. And that's going to be the second coming of our Lord, Yahushai, and shall not return again until they come down on the earth, which would be America, Babylon the Great, daughter of Babylon, which is also known as Adumia, right? Right? Known as Edom, the land of Uz, right? Known as Assyria, Sodom, right? That merchant city, right? The city of blood, right? All those different judgments that this place, Egypt, right? It has to come upon this place, right? For the first, the fire is kindled, right? See, once the ICBM missiles hit, that fire is going to be kindled, and shall not be put out till it consumes the foundation of the earth, right? So it's going to burn and burn and burn until whatever time the Lord says it's time, for it to be ready for those desert creatures, but it's going to burn for a very long time. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 24, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of men that have transgressed against me. Right here in Babylon the Great, all these this great sinful place, right? All these different transgressions against the Most High. It's going to be a memorial, a remembrance of things not to do, right? Just like he set forth Sodom and Gomorrah as a memorial, America, Babylon the Great, right? The daughter of Babylon, which is also known as spiritually Sodom and Egypt, also spiritually known as Nineveh, spiritually known as Assyria, right? Spiritually known as the land of Uz, right, so to speak, right? Esau's domain, right? So many different things, this thing represents, embodies, Syria, just a lot. I'm just can't even think of everything that this place, because they embodied all these different cultures and customs within this place. But the main thing being Babylon and Egypt, right? The main two that really sticks out is Babylon, Egypt, and of course Sodom, right, in this place. All right, but it represents that, and that was the great transgression they have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. Right, when the icy this place is going to be burning and burning and burning for a very long time. Right, and they shall be in there. It said, and they shall be abhorred, be an abhorring of their flesh. Right, people are going to be looking at this place like, oh, disgusting. I can't believe that was going on in that place. Oh, the worst. Like, this is not going to be a place where it's going to be like a renowned name, and people are going to say, oh, that was the great George Washington, and that was the great Bill Clinton, so to speak, and that was this such and such Edomite, and these such and such Jakes were the first to join the military for Esau Edom, and this is a harmonious rainbow coalition, right, of these great people. No, it's gonna be a memorial for things not to do, just like Sodom and Gomorrah was, right? So with all that, I'm going to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, right? To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. You sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And I want to say, Abba Kwam Yasharallah.